Get ready to meet the elite. Ashford Publishing Radio is on the air. Welcome to Ashford Publishing Radio, brought to you by ASHFORDpublishing.com, an exclusive membership site for today's industry leaders and tomorrow's superstars. Ashford Publishing Radio brings you experience, wisdom, and informed opinion from some of today's most influential executives and professionals. Join us on air to hear from ASHFORDpublishing.com's most exclusive members as we learn about their interesting lives and professional passions. It's never been easier to learn from truly exceptional people than it is from people that belong to ASHFORDpublishing.com.
I'm Christine Larkin, and today we are pleased to have as our guest a member of ASHFORDpublishing.com who lives an interesting life as the owner of Positive Energy Outdoors, located in Duluth, Minnesota. It's my pleasure to welcome to the show Stephanie Love. Stephanie, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Well, it's great to have you here, and I'm very excited to talk about your business and just what you do. These are outdoor adventures in the natural world. You work with young people. It is just so interesting, and I'd like you to tell us a little bit about your company and what led you to it.
Sure. My husband and I co-founded Positive Energy Outdoors 8 years ago in June, actually, and both of us have come from outdoor education backgrounds. Blake was a college outdoor program director for a number of years. He guided trips in Alaska and other places, and I came from a background where I was working at camps. I directed a model program for disadvantaged teens. I worked for Outward Bound, and Blake and I met 9 years ago. One of the things I really wanted to do was I wanted to run my own program, because what I found going through different programs is that sometimes it was a positive experience to be outside and try new things, and other times it just wasn't. It wasn't the kind of supportive environment that I needed. And so when I met Blake, we started talking, and he happened to have 16 sled dogs at the time, and we now have 58. But we said,
16, what was that?
We have 58 sled dogs now. At the time,
wow.
We had 16. So we met dog sledding, but we said we'd love to do our own thing. And so we thought about our skills and our passions, and we decided we'd start a nonprofit. And so that was how Positive Energy Outdoors was formed.
Wow. So tell us about these dogs. And you met dog sledding.
Yes. So one of the programs that I think it's always been a hook for people, especially winter is not the, I call it an underappreciated season, because a lot of people just kind of want to hide in their house and not go outside. And for us, winter is an amazing time to be outside. And so the dogs are a big part of our program. And when we first started the nonprofit, the dog sledding and the dog programs were the hook for a lot of people to get to know us. And when you come dog sledding, and especially as a young person, as a child, a lot of kids, we work with kids from disadvantaged backgrounds. A lot of the local youth agencies come with their students, and school groups come. But a lot of these kids have not had positive experiences with dogs and animals, and so they're scared. And so our dogs are kind of the friendly ambassador to both winter and also to animal and people-powered activities. And so kids will hide behind me and be a little nervous about all these dogs, and then by the end of the day, they're like, I'm bringing my dad back. We're going to work for you. So they're very powerful ambassadors for what we do, and for winter, too.
This is really incredible. So you're out there in Duluth, Minnesota, and it's kind of a snowy place, right? I mean, you have pretty cold winters.
Yep.
So you work just in that area, or some of these trips? Obviously, the dog sledding is probably nearby, but the other things that you do, tell us a little bit about some of the programs outside of dog sledding.
Sure. The dog sledding takes place right here in our kennel. We're about 15 miles north of town. It's a real easy drive to get to us. And then we also have a private inland lake, and so we do some kayak skills courses. So an inland lake is a lot different than kayaking on Lake Superior or the ocean. It's very calm and relaxing. The water is warm, and it's you get out and see a lot of wildlife. We tend to see bald eagles and loons and osprey and great blue herons, but we also do take people onto Lake Superior. We do some kayak tours at some of the state parks and some of the really beautiful beaches and cliffs that you can see on the North Shore of Lake Superior. And then we also have a portable climbing wall that we use on site. We use it a lot for team building, so we'll have lots of kids groups come out, and we'll use that. We just had 156 fifth graders out last week, and they were climbing on the wall. And but we also do outdoor rock climbing. Duluth is unique in that it's got a lot of great outdoor activities that are right here. So you can go kayaking in the morning, you can go rock climbing in the afternoon. There's great places right in town and also just up the North Shore. And some days we've gone dog sledding in the morning and rock climbing in the afternoon. So it's
wow.
It's an outdoor paradise for sure.
You must be young.
Well,
you don't have to tell me, but I'm thinking rock climbing. No, I can't wear high heels rock climbing. So
no, but I did have a lady come with high heel dog sledding, so I gave her my luck.
Oh, that's great. So tell us a little bit about these young people and the disadvantaged backgrounds that they come from.
Sure. And I think it's really interesting to think about, even since we started our organization 8 years ago, kids are really connected to screens, and they're inside and they're on, they're playing video games, they're on Facebook, they're not connected. And even when you see them outside, they're like looking down at these little screens all the time. And that's gotten really, really dramatically worse, actually, as we've started. I think the average young person spends 44 hours a week in front of a screen of some kind, and that's more than a full-time job.
Yeah.
So a lot of the kids that come to our programs are not super physically active. A number of them are they're kind of disconnected. They're not involved in a lot of other things after school. They're not involved in other activities. And they're just they're looking for something interesting, and we tend to engage them in quite a different way than they're expecting. And so when they come to us, we might be kayaking or we might be dog sledding, but we're actually outdoor education that we do, and we define outdoor education as a blend of learning physical skills, but it's also social and emotional learning, and it's time in nature, and you combine those things. And so someone who is kind of shy, maybe doesn't feel like they fit in very well with a group of friends, or we've even had youth agencies say, we've had kids who are in rival gangs, and it's crazy to think in Duluth, Minnesota, there are gangs. But there are. But these kids have been in the kayak together with us, and the staff person says afterwards, we can't even get these kids to talk, and here they are paddling a kayak, and then they realize that they're friends because we've experienced this shared experience with the processing up front. We set goals and expectations for behavior and participation, and then we come back at the end and we say, okay, what did you learn? What are you going to do with this experience going forward? How can this help you at school? How can this help you at home? What do you think? Why do you think this is so important to get outside? So it's really powerful stuff.
It's pretty astounding that being in nature where it's on natural terms, there are no electronics, there's no stimulation other than the outdoors. And it kind of hits the brain in a different way, and it's spiritual at the same time, and it's transcending. So what are some of the things that you hear from these kids when they've, and how long are they with you? Is it just an outing? Is it over a period of time?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the kids who come to us come for sometimes just a couple of hours. Sometimes they come all day, and sometimes they'll come for a week of experiences. So we're not talking about a giant immersion kind of thing, but it's so interesting because we have groups that come every year. We create custom camps and other programs, and a lot of times the kids come and they're terrified of being outside. They're afraid of the bugs. They're afraid of dirt. They're afraid of noises. They don't know what to expect. It's not their normal environment. And so we spend a lot of time, even if it's just a couple of hours, just helping them understand where they are and that they're safe, and really just establishing that safety so that they feel safe about what's going on in the environment around them, but they also feel safe with each other. And so a lot of kids, one thing they say about safety is that they feel like they can try something new and no one's going to tease them. No one's going to say, oh, you can't do that, you're dumb. It's a really supportive environment that we create from the beginning. And And it's funny because a lot of them also say, gosh, I can have fun without my, video games.
Yeah.
And they're just sort of astounded by this. I had a boy last week who we went on an exploration. We have a cranberry bog on our property here, and so we did a bog exploration, and I asked them lots of questions about what do you think these flowers are, and what do you think these plants are, and what do you think lives in a bog? Why is a bog important? And at the end of the hike, he came up to me and said, that was a lot more fun than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
And a lot of times kids also say that when they're doing these activities, it's the right amount of challenge. It's not too easy, but it's not so hard that it's frustrating or they feel like they can't do it. And they get support. Like there's a girl climbing on the climbing wall. She's a 5th grader, just last day of school. She's a new 6th grader, and she was telling her friend, you know what? They don't just have you climb. They give you help. Like they help you out, and you can do it because they're here to help you. And I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, the whole idea of help, and that they see that you want to help them, that right there is probably so major to these kids, because I would imagine they come from broken homes, or as you said, they're part of a gang. Maybe, there are substance abuse issues in the family. And so they've never experienced somebody helping them. Maybe they've always been on their own, so they don't even know what that is. When I hear people say, my parents never tell me, I've never heard them say they love me, I'm blown away. But there are children that come from that type of home where nobody kisses them or says, I love you, which brings me to your last name. I just, I said to my coworkers before I came on air with you that, wow, I get to interview someone with the last name Love. This can only be good. So it's a great name. How does it catapult you with what you do? Because it really is a powerful name.
Well, and it's funny because when I was growing up, my dad got teased by his name, but maybe it's because he was a boy, and you get teased when you're a boy with the name Love. But I never ever, if people would ask I have to spell it. People are like, how do you spell that? I'm like, well, it's Love. I'm like, oh, okay. But I feel like for me, when I think about my own experiences as a young person, and I went to camp every summer. My family was not very outdoorsy. My sister still thinks I'm a little crazy. She's the complete opposite of me. But that sort of, the idea that this is supposed to be fun, it's supposed to make you feel good, and that you just, it is kind of I still am in touch with people that were my mentors and my camp counselors when I was a kid, and they really had a huge impact on my life. And so I feel like it's kind of part of it's part of our name too, why we call ourselves Positive Energy, sort of that love and that sort of just, that's so important. And if you can create that atmosphere, well, then you can say, yeah, why don't you try a little harder on the wall here? I gotcha. So I'm not going to drop you. You're not going to get it done.
Right. So I think the whole idea of feeling safe is, wow, that's huge. I had such a very tender, loving upbringing, and the thought of not feeling safe, it never crossed my mind. So to have that as a young person must be very difficult. So now tell us a little bit about some of the summer activities. Do you do sailing trips?
We're looking to do that. There was a Tall Ship Festival that came to Duluth a couple of summers ago. It kind of happens every couple of years, and I got to go out on a smaller, 40-foot smaller boat.
Yeah, not that small.
Yeah, they are doing educational programs, and it has been our goal ever since then to figure out how to bring a tall ship into Duluth that we could do that with. We have a little sailboat that we use. That it's not part of our programs yet, but we're hoping in the next few years that we can find some help to make that happen, because it's but what I like about our programs, especially in the summer, is that if you're rock climbing or you're kayaking or you're hiking or you're doing these things, that we talk about leadership all the time, and you talk about decision making and all that other stuff. If you're rock climbing and you're the belayer, you literally have somebody's life in your hands. And for kids, for them to understand, because the kids belay, they learn how to do everything that I would teach an adult to do they do that too. And so they have this huge responsibility. So when you talk about leadership, it's a fairly abstract concept, but then when you talk about, okay, here we go, we got to get these boats in the water, we're going to make sure everybody is where they're supposed to be, that if somebody's having trouble, we're going to, make sure we can help them. We're going to keep the rope tight so that the person climbing feels safe. We're going to do all these things. I mean, this is really, it's pretty powerful.
Yeah. And well, those schooners, those tall ships, I was out in Greenport, Long Island a couple of weekends ago, and they came in for Memorial Day in New York. And, oh, my gosh, there was one ship that was probably 200 feet, maybe a little bigger, a schooner, which I had actually taken a windjammer on many years ago in the Caribbean, which was a phenomenal experience because then you are really immersed in nature and you've got to work that boat. They're beautiful vessels. So I hope that comes through for you. So we're going to take we'll take a short break. Everybody can go on their Positive Energy Outdoors website at www.outdooradventure. Instead of an A, it's E, and it is plural, adventures. So outdooradventures.com. And you can email Stephanie Love at steph@outdoor... let me start over. steph@outdooradventures.org. All right, so I'm Christine Larkin. My guest is Stephanie Love, the owner of Positive Energy Outdoors located in Duluth, Minnesota. You're listening to ASHFORD Publishing Radio, and we'll be back right after these messages.
The light, whistling breeze brushing your hair, the blanket warmth of the sun wrapped around your skin, the sound of echoing waves in the distance are how everyone senses an ideal vacation. Wimco can arrange a luxury villa to experience this dream vacation that lasts a lifetime. For over 27 years, Wimco has represented private villas on St. Bart's and 11 other Caribbean islands. Wimco also represents Southern Europe hotspots like Tuscany, Saint-Tropez, and the Greek island of Mykonos and Santorini. Wimco has the most experienced staff who provide you accommodations and trip planning that meet all your specific needs. Skip the planning of vacation and allow Wimco to set your sail. Visit wimco.com.
My name is Sue Smith. I'm 38 and I work at a graphic design company. And the teenage me would tell you I wouldn't be into drawing and art if it wasn't for Big Brothers Big Sisters. My big sister showed me early on that I could do anything. And to the young me,
that meant a lot. My big sister's name is Sheila, and Sheila is the reason that this 8-year-old grows up to have an amazing job as a graphic designer.
Whether you donate money or time, you're helping Big Brothers Big Sisters help a child. Start something today at BigBrothersBigSisters.org. Brought to you by Big Brothers Big Sisters and the Ad Council.
You arrive on vacation, stepping foot on Antigua, a beautiful island in the West Indies. You exit the airport and find yourself staring blankly into the parking lot, anxiously awaiting the path that lie ahead. Steer your vacation and rent a car, Jeep, or minivan from TT Rent-A-Car, where rates are available by the day, number of days, a week, or longer. TT ensures that his guests are personally met on arrival at the airport, whatever the time, and presented with a well-maintained and routinely serviced vehicle. For your convenience, cellular phones are also available for rent. Ensure your independence on the island and get the wheels rolling. Visit villaordnance.com to fuel your next vacation through TT Rent-A-Car.
And we are back. This is ASHFORD Publishing Radio. I'm Christine Larkin, and my guest today is Stephanie Love, the owner of Positive Energy Outdoors in Duluth, Minnesota. So there's been some research done, and it talks about young people being outside and the positive experience this is for them. Tell us a little bit about that research.
Sure. And before I do that, can I just give the website? It's a .org, a .org, not a .com.
Did I say .com? I'm sorry.
Okay.
All right.
Just want to make sure people can find it. So
.org. Mm-hmm.
The research out there is pretty interesting. There's research on what happens when young people are outside and spending time in nature, and it's everything from kids feel kind of they're able to relax a little bit to they are able to time in nature, especially when they're kind of middle school, middle childhood age. They're more creative. They tend to do a little bit better in school. They have all these cool things happen, and that creativity piece I think is really neat because if you're out in nature, you have to be creative. There's nothing prescribed about it, so it's kind of a choose your own adventure in the real world.
Yeah.
And then the other piece that's really exciting about it that I think is after school programming, like the kinds of things that we do. So many kids are not physically active, and so whatever background you come from, doesn't matter. If you're not very physically active, it's hard to want to participate in outdoor activities. But when kids come and they're in this environment and it's a non-competitive environment, so they get to try things. And it doesn't matter to me if they go 3 feet up the wall or they get to the top, or and for some kids, just getting in the kayak at the dock is a big deal. But when they're doing these activities, it tends to make them more physically active in other areas of their life. So it's really important because the whole childhood obesity epidemic, 1 in 2 kids today are going to be diabetic who are born. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's very, very dangerous. It really is crazy. This is something that we've never seen before at this rate. So, yeah, you're killing a lot of birds with one stone. Not only is it spiritually positive, it's physical, it's emotional. It's communal. It gives them better interaction skills, conversational skills. Kids don't really talk. They seem very bored to me when I talk to young people that are behind these electronics. They seem bored, even though they don't look it when they're playing these games. But conversation, knowledge, so many things. And also some of the research talks about the positive experience about high-quality out-of-school time experiences. Tell us a little bit about that, because these kinds of adventures can take them on a very high level.
Absolutely. And I think this is the most exciting piece of all. It's sort of my passion in my passion of the outdoors is the idea that when I facilitate a program, it is much more than, it's not babysitting. It is not just sort of, hey, they're coming to the safe place. It is so much more than that, because when young people get opportunities to plan, they get to make choices based on their interests, they get a chance to work in groups, they're able to feel like they belong, they have an opportunity to reflect on what they've learned. That's huge. Those experiences build 21st century skills. And so I hire a lot of the kids who come through our programs. We have a team leadership program because they have skills that I want as an employer. And I think about, there's all these places that are hiring, and we hear about, young people, it's hard for them to get jobs. And, well, we don't give them the opportunity to build any of these skills to be able to be competitive for jobs that they might want to get. Because if you're going to get a job, you have to work in a team. You have to be creative. You have to be able to follow directions. You have to be able to there's so many things you have to be able to do.
That's right. Follow through.
Yeah, follow through. Yeah, you have to be able to communicate effectively. You have to show up on time. All of these things. Kids learn this from out of school time, and from our programs, I feel like it, especially with sort of pushing yourself a little harder and really trying new things and just being in a setting that is different. It's really important, and I have the pleasure and privilege of getting to train other folks that work with young people about how to do this. There's best practices and all this other, all these pieces that go along with it. And it's a really big mind shift, because we've for so long thought of after school as kind of latchkey, and out of school time stuff is, it's a babysitting service, but it's really not. It's really an opportunity to build skills. And if we want a workforce that's going to be prepared, and we want kids to be successful as young adults, and we want them to be ready for college and all those things, that's what this is about as well.
It's an amazing point that you have made, skills for the 21st century, because I don't think there's been any time in my lifetime where the skill set has to be very particular, in that you've got to have all of those showing up on time. Everything you mentioned, fortitude, focus, follow through. all of the skills that the finest human being can possess have to be part of the skill set to compete in today's world. You simply will not make it if you fall short, because there will be other people that will have those skills, and they don't all come out of the Ivy League schools. I mean, your program can certainly enhance those skills in these people, because I think we all have it. I think it's just the opportunities don't always present themselves.
Right. And I think it's interesting because one of our teen leaders, who she started volunteering with us as a ninth grader, was the first in her family to go to college. She got a full scholarship to Harvard. Not entirely because of us, but I know that we somehow had a little tiny part in that.
Of course.
And I feel so proud. Like that's a big deal, and we see students all the time who've come through programs, either our programs or when we've worked in other places. They do things they would not have done had they not had an experience like this. It sort of intervened at a time when, adolescence is not an easy time. So to have positive adults and experiences where you really feel like you can gain confidence and you can learn skills that you wouldn't learn otherwise, and really think about, what do you want to do? Where do I want to go? What do I want to be?
Well, it gives you the opportunity to be introspective and think, wow, if I can do this, then I can do anything. Yep. So it's mastering, because I think that if you master one skill and really master it, you can master many. So it's the same skill set, it's just a different outcome. I'll give out your sites and your site and email one more time: www.outdooradventures.org, and email Stephanie at Steph, that's STEPH, at outdooradventures.org. We're down to just almost 3 minutes. It goes so fast. Give us a little, tell us an anecdote or some inspiration, any parting comments that you want to share with us.
Oh, gosh. I think with the I had a group of sixth graders that I've been working with this whole year, and we did a combination of leadership, service learning, and outdoor program, and they picked bullying awareness. And so we did all these different outdoor activities, and then we would come back together and we talked about bullying, because they decided this is a big problem in their school, and so they created this whole presentation, and they presented this to about 600 of their peers in their elementary school. And it was so much fun to work with them on all of these issues that they saw in their school that they also didn't even realize that they were doing with each other. So every time, for example, they said something that was kind of rude, I put a paper clip into a bucket, and they're like, "What is that? What are you doing?" And I was like, "Well, what are you saying to each other?" And it's so funny because they said to me, and I said, "It seems like you guys get along really well. Like, are you friends outside of the program that we do?" And they're like, "No, we don't really talk to each other, but when we're here, we're friends. And when we're not in school, like now when we're in school together, even though maybe we're not in the same group of friends, we still hang out and we still say hi." And they said there's been some new kids that have come, and they said, "Here, come sit at my table at lunch. Here, play with me at recess. Here, do this." It was so cool. And they said it doesn't really matter we're not best friends, because we all like each other, and we all, that's what the world's about. You don't have to love everybody, but you certainly have to be polite and friendly and work together and understand that that's what matters. So
compassion, human compassion, right? Well, Stephanie, we're at the end, and it's just been really inspiring. I want to thank you for everything that you do, and to all those children that come your way. They're truly blessed, because it sounds like an amazing program. Again, and our listeners, thank you. You can go to outdooradventures.org and email Stephanie at steph@outdooradventures.org. Stephanie, thank you once again.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Ashford Publishing Radio with my special guest, Stephanie Love. She's the owner of Positive Energy Outdoors in Duluth, Minnesota. Ashford Publishing Radio can be found online at ashfordpublishingradio.com. The archive of this and other Ashford Publishing Radio shows are available there and are also available on iTunes. Look for them as well on the exclusive membership site, ashfordpublishing.com. This is Christine Larkin thanking everyone for joining us today. and wishing you all the best. Oh, hold on.